Hey folks, my name's Ed Travers. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm an Anglican priest serving in the beautiful parish of St. Margaret of Scotland that sits on the ancestral and on the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, Gwe. Back in December, the Canadian Parliament, December 2021, the Canadian Parliament passed a bill unanimously. Everybody who was there voted for this bill, Bill C4. Now the bill is Parliament's way of discouraging by criminalizing it, something called conversion therapy. Right? Conversion therapy, as defined by the bill, is any practice, treatment, or service to make people not gay. That's me paraphrasing, but you get the idea. Conversion therapy has been studied for years, and it has been seen to be harmful and traumatic and damaging. And the Canadian government, the Canadian Parliament simply has said enough. And so they voted unanimously to end it here in Canada. So it is now illegal to knowingly cause someone to undergo conversion therapy, to knowingly provide conversion therapy, to promote conversion therapy, or to send someone out of the country to undergo conversion therapy. Now, despite the fact that conversion therapy, as I mentioned, has been studied to be harmful to individuals and to society, some Christian pastors, over 4,000 Christian pastors from across the United States and Canada, have raised some concerns. Their concern is that this bill is going to criminalize Christianity. In fairness, their concern is that they will no longer be able to share a particular message. They'll no longer be able to preach about it. They'll no longer be able to talk about it. They'll no longer be able to teach about it. They will no longer be able to have conversations about it. They're worried so much. They're so worried that they're even afraid parents talking about this thing with their children, that they could be incarcerated and jailed for it. The truth is, this bill is not going to criminalize Christianity. In fact, it's not even going to keep these pastors from sharing a message, from sharing a particular theological stance that they carry that says being gay is bad or being trans is bad. The bill itself is about conversion therapy, and despite the fact that it's never been challenged in court and it's just new, I mean, it only really came into law in January, I don't believe the bill is so vague that people are going to be slapped with criminal charges because they express an opinion, a theological understanding during a sermon. But for me, the reason that this bill is not going to criminalize Christianity is that Christianity, for it to mean anything, is so much greater than any one particular message. It has to be. In the Gospel, the book of John, chapter 21, right at the very end, the author says something along the lines of, and Jesus did all kinds of other amazing things. And indeed, if we were to write about it, the world would be filled with the books. Right? The world would be filled with the tales. Christian faith, the Christian message, is greater than any one message. It is incredibly broad. It is incredibly vast. It is incredibly deep. It is much more robust than that one message they're afraid they're not going to be able to share anymore. The Christian message. And you know, in fairness, it can boil down. The Christian message can be boiled down to two things: love God, love neighbor. But from that, how many sermons can we preach on love? How many sermons can we preach on our need to help and to give to the people around us? How many sermons can we preach on the enormity of God's love for all of us? How many sermons could we preach on how God has been speaking to humanity since the dawn of time, since time before words? How many sermons could we preach on building community, on sharing our faith, on sharing our gifts, on sharing our love? How many sermons can we preach on God's wisdom? How many sermons could we preach about how God's love and God's existence shines through the arts, music, literature, poetry? We could literally speak forever about all that is around us and how God is present. We could literally speak forever about the sheer power of the sacrifice that Jesus Christ made for all of us. This bill, even if those pastors' worst nightmare comes true, that they are no longer allowed to preach about the evils of same-gender marriage, it still cannot keep us silent about all that God is, that all that we know of God as we have experienced it, heard, and seen through the person of Jesus Christ. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. And I pray that we will all rejoice that this law has been put into place, that conversion therapy is banned, and that our voices will forever sing and praise the glory of God in this world, as seen through Jesus Christ, as seen through the forests, as seen through the oceans, as seen through the faces of those people we bump into every day. Amen. Numultus.